This week, as I reported, Pauline Hanson was actually stopped by Labor and the Greens from even showing Parliament her planned legislation to remove the definition of gender identity that's in the Sex Discrimination Act and revert to the use of the terms man and woman based on biological sex, not simply what you thought you were that day. Now, almost never is a politician blocked from presenting their legislation what's called a first reading. It gets voted on in the second and third readings. Never. But the Labor and the Greens did it this time because they hate her. And they hate, they claim, which is a little strange. And because...
Before you go, there's something even more surprising coming next. The next clip reveals what they didn't want Australians to notice, and it's already changing the political landscape. Stay with me. Make sure you're subscribed.
Something.
This disgusting rhetoric, this disgusting level of debate, as is the broader Australian community. Disgraceful act of political disgust. It's just disgusting.
But what struck me this week is how often Pauline Hanson has actually been right, but then being crucified as a racist and nasty for simply being too early to say it. Well, I must say, it's true, she sometimes hasn't said it well, but this gender issue is just one example, and there are, in fact, others from her very first speech to Parliament.
I do not believe that the colour of one's skin determines whether you are disadvantaged. I am fed up with being told this is our land. Well, where the hell do I go? I was born here, and so were my parents and children. Abolishing the policy of multiculturalism will save billions of dollars and allow those from ethnic backgrounds to join mainstream Australia, paving the way to a strong, united country. Immigration must be halted in the short term so that our dole queues are not added to by, in many cases, unskilled migrants.
Now, going through the whole speech, there were some things that clearly didn't agree with and some were unnecessarily harshly expressed. But Hanson was abused for them for things that, like the things you just heard. And those things have become more and more mainstream. Many Liberals now say the same. The vote against the voice last year proves that many Australians now coming to exactly that same point of view. Joining me is Senator Pauline Hanson. Pauline, great to see you. You, this week, and also last week, you were stopped by Labor and the Greens from giving the first reading of your bill to change back to using the terms woman and man. What did that tell you?
If you don't agree with the Greens and the Labor Party, well, you're not going to have a say in the Parliament, on the floor of Parliament. It's like they will control it. We've become so woke, Andrew, and it's a shame where the country's going, the direction it's going in. You know, I don't raise these issues purely because I want to be nasty to people. It's not about that. What they did in changing from gender identity, you know, from biological male and female in the bill, which Julia Gillard did in 2013, to gender identity, that has paved the way for the problems that we have in the country now. So women are being stripped of their rights, who we are as women, you know, safe places for women, that men can change and say, oh, I'm a female today. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm trying to put this to right. Yet they are standing up there, holier than thou, and saying, oh no, I'm actually being hateful towards transgender. That's not the case at all. I'm trying to protect women's rights and their right to safety and safe places for women, and so it should be that way.
Now here's where things get even more interesting, because what happened next completely changed the tone of the debate, and most people completely missed it. Stay with me, make sure you're subscribed.
I think you'll win this debate too. I think most of Australia will, if they're probably there right now with you anyway, and in time it'll become ludicrous to say what your critics were saying. Now, listen, when in your first stint in Parliament, this was nearly 3 decades ago, you were in the House of Reps, you we're on your own, basically, on issues like the ones I had you quoted from your first speech. But these days, of course, I can have on my show Senator Matt Canavan or Alex Antic or Garth Hamilton or the very great Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, Barnaby Joyce, to say some or many of the things, maybe sometimes all of the things, the more important things you were saying alone back then. Now, I know that frustrates you to have other people crowding your space. I mean, I think you've told me much the same this week, but don't you think this is actually a sign of your success?
Andrew, it's not about crowding my space, okay? I didn't expect to be such a well-known politician. I never thought I'd get into politics right from the very start, okay? Politics is someone that you must be dedicated and passionate about your country, and you care about the people out there. Forget about, if you're going to be called names and everything like that. That's got nothing to do with it. It's about you stand up on principles and morals. You call it out for what it is. And I stood by my morals, my principles, the way that I saw it. Politics is about a person who has vision for the future. A politician is someone who will actually be a problem solver, not someone that's going to say, what do I have to do till the next election? So a lot of these issues was on the wall. I could see the writing on the wall. I can see the writing on the wall. If we don't address certain issues now, we're going to be in hell of problems, more so down the track. I respect these people that you've named. I have a lot of respect for these people. But unless you've got someone like me on the floor of Parliament who's going to keep reining in the coalition or these other ones, to actually make them accountable for their positions and keep making them answer to the Australian people, because too many of the politicians these days, whichever political party, are taking their voters for granted. And they don't believe that they have to work and for their positions. They take it for granted. Well, the voters out there are waking up. They want people that are prepared to fight for them and the future generations. And so I'm keeping them all on their toes. And if they're joining in the same course as me, good, it's about time.
Pauline, Anthony Albanese, now personally, I've always got on well with him, right? Always got on well with him. I didn't like how he was bad-mouthing Bill Shorten as his leader. I thought that was, back when Bill was leader, I thought that was a little bit treacherous, actually. But basically a decent guy. But he, to me, it seems he's lost control of the economy, lost his authority, is sinking at the polls. And today I thought, and it's not the first time, he was angry with a pro-Labor presenter on the pro-Labor ABC of all things. Listen to this.
What just happened in Parliament this week is almost unheard of. Pauline Hanson, a sitting senator, was literally blocked from giving the first reading of her own bill. A bill that would have restored the terms man and woman based on biological sex and removed the confusing gender identity language from the Sex Discrimination Act. Never before in Australian politics has a legislator been silenced like this before even presenting a bill. And why? Because Labor and the Greens couldn't stand the idea of her having a platform to debate this issue. Now, think about that for a second. A senator trying to protect women's rights, trying to clarify the law, preventing men from claiming spaces meant for women, and she's being stopped by her political opponents, not in some backroom maneuver, but on the floor of Parliament itself. They didn't want this legislation even discussed. They didn't want Australians to hear her reasoning. It's the kind of move you usually only see in authoritarian regimes, not in a democracy. And yet, Hanson stood her ground. She reminded us that she's been right before while being crucified for speaking truths others weren't ready to hear. From her very first speech decades ago, she's challenged the prevailing narratives, the obsession with skin colour as a measure of disadvantage, blind multiculturalism policies, unchecked immigration. Some of her language then was harsh, yes, but look at today, many of the points she made back then have now become mainstream. The establishment hated her then, and they hate her now, but she's still standing, still calling it as she sees it. During the interview with Andrew Bolt, Hanson didn't just defend her bill, she exposed the hypocrisy of those opposing her. While Labor and the Greens claim to care about inclusion and fairness, they actively silenced a senator trying to restore clarity and safety for women. She highlighted the absurdity of men claiming female spaces simply because they identify as women that day. She spoke about women being stripped of safe spaces, and yet the very people accusing her of hate are the ones standing in the way of a solution. This isn't just politics, it's a warning sign for the country. When legislation aimed at protecting citizens is blocked because of ideology, when elected representatives are prevented from presenting bills, something has gone fundamentally wrong. And Hanson knows it. She's been in Parliament long enough to see the writing on the wall. She knows that without someone willing to fight on the floor, all these leaders in Canberra will take voters for granted, leaving Australians to deal with the consequences. Let me be clear, what Pauline Hanson faced this week is not about policy differences, it's about control and narrative. Labor and the Greens didn't want debate. They wanted silence. And Hanson refused to be silenced. She stood firm, defended women's rights, defended her principles, and reminded everyone watching that politics is about vision, courage, and moral clarity, not popularity contests or media spin. The takeaway is simple. Australians need to see this. They need to understand who is fighting for principles and who is playing political games. And right now, the person silenced on the floor of Parliament is the one standing up for real issues that affect real people every day. If you follow politics, this is a must-watch moment because it shows exactly how far the establishment will go to stop someone from speaking the truth. And it also shows that Pauline Hanson isn't backing down, not now, not ever.